The husband has been secretly swapping outdoor handles in our house. When I confronted him, he got defensive and won't explain why. I, 28, female, have been married to 30, male for 9 years. Together for 11. We were in bed watching TikToks together on his phone. I asked him when he was going to bed because he had work in the morning. He said soon, and in response to that said that I should go to bed. I had to call out of work because my daughter is sick. It was past 10 at that point. I laid on my side, still facing him, starting to doze off. I see him type in something very long into his phone, and then I said, "What are you looking up?" He gets defensive at first, saying, "Why are you looking at my phone? Go to bed." I say that I'm not, and that I just saw him typing something really long, so I assumed he was looking something up since he then began looking at it and scrolling. And then he said I'm looking up stuff about the car. So I followed up with, "What about the car?" He immediately tells me to go to bed and then turns his phone off and sets it on the side table and turns on his side away from me to go to bed. So then I'm sitting there confused and asking him why he did that and why he's being so secretive, and then he tells me that I'm being annoying and that I need to learn when to listen. So I said no, this was supposed to be a normal conversation, and that I was confused that if it was just about car stuff, then why he was doing that. I figured asking what about the car was a normal follow-up question. He said that I need to learn a lesson, and I lost my window now because I was being an instigator, and now out of spite he is not going to tell me what he was looking up. I'm still sitting there confused and now starting to get emotional because I'm not sure how this turned into that. He turns over and goes to sleep, so I tap on him on the arm and say his name a couple of times to talk to him and tell him I can't go to sleep because I'm confused about what that was and why he was being so secretive if it was just about a car. He proceeds to tell me that I need to learn to listen, and that he's now teaching me a lesson by not telling me, and that he doesn't care if it affects me going to sleep. He said that it wasn't a big deal, but now I'm making it a big deal. I said that this isn't normal and his behavior is really odd. But he tells me if I'm quiet that he will show me what he was looking at. I then go silent so I can see what it was, and he confirms, "Are you done now?" And I don't say anything. Then he brings up his phone, and it's the last thing he was looking at, and it was door handles for the car. I'm just confused on why that became. Well, why? Why couldn't just tell me he was looking at car handles, and why it became a weird control thing? And this isn't the first instance, it's been something like this. And it's been me asking questions about normal things couples talk about, like asking questions about a new job or about a bill or something he did that day.
Next story.
So neighbors' noisy nightly activities kept me up, so I played whale meeting calls to drown them out. So now they're complaining about Maine to the landlord. So I, 45M, live in an apartment complex where the walls are basically made of tissue paper. My neighbor, 27F, let's call her Tanya, has a very active love life. And by active, I mean every single night at 10 p.m., she and her partner engage in some of the loudest, most over-the-top stuff you can imagine. I'm talking screaming, thumping, and bed frame squeaking exit. It's not just occasional, it's a ritual. Like clockwork every single day. Now, I'm no prude. People are free to live their lives. But this noise is so intense that it drowns out my TV, music, and noise-canceling headphones. I've tried knocking on the wall, leaving notes, and even politely mentioning it in passing. But Tanya just laughs it off like it's no big deal. "We're just having fun," she says. Yeah, okay, but do you need to announce it to the world? After weeks of this, I decided enough was enough. But instead of going to the landlord, I decided to fight noise with noise. I went online and found a playlist of whale mating calls and hooked up my speakers right next to the wall we share. As soon as their night begins, I start blasting these deep, haunting whale sounds at full volume. Sounds and thumping are still there, but now it's accompanied by the eerie whale sounds. So honestly, it's kind of a surreal experience. I even grew to find these sounds relaxing. The screaming in the background doesn't bother me that much anymore, so I fall asleep easily. Tanya came over the other day, looking super annoyed, and asked, "What the hell is that noise?"
Next story.
Told my sister she deserved her breakup after cheating on her ex. Now she's furious and the family's divided. Am I the bad guy? And this has been eating at me for a while, and my family is split on who's in the wrong, so I need outside opinions. My sister Anna, 27F, was dating Mark, 29M, for about 3 years. So they lived together, had a dog together, and honestly seemed perfect for each other. Next thing I know, Anna tells me she's been secretly flirting with this guy at her gym, Ethan, 25M. She said it was just innocent fun to spice things up, but I told her she was playing with fire. So apparently that escalated, and she ended up hooking up with Ethan. Mark found out after she left her phone unlocked, and all the between her and Ethan were right there. This is where things get heated. Anna called me crying, saying Mark was being dramatic for leaving her over one mistake and that she didn't deserve to lose everything over a fling. She wanted me to comfort her, but instead I lost it. I told her that she deserved the breakup because she cheated and hurt someone who treated her so well. I said she made her bed, and now she had to lie and and now she's telling everyone in the family that I kicked her while she was down and that I'm a terrible sister for not supporting her during a hard time. My parents think I was harsh but agree with what I said, while a few relatives are saying I should have been kinder since she's already suffering the consequences of her actions. So, Ada for telling my sister she deserved her breakup?
Next story.
Laughed in my sister-in-law's face after she secretly DN attested my daughter. Now the family's furious. Samay the jerk. We type. I, 30M, have a daughter who's 6. I am not biologically related to her at all, so there is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically and were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were dead. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was workplace cheating. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building and were both ked. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I had been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents, so I stepped in. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were dead by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mom. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago, we were all meeting up at my parents' house and my Sil saw an old picture of me, my friend and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that was Lily's mother. Sil got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married, or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. My Sil got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant me and Lily weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter, and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red and she stormed off. My brother is mad I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers, and then parading the results up to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing and called me an asshole. I don't feel like the asshole, especially considering my Sil was the one who stuck her nose where it doesn't belong. I'm asking for Reddit opinions, mostly just for validation. So was I the asshole?